Chapter 11.2 Escaping by Feigned Death. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Bailey Qingmiao broke away from He Wenchao's embrace and hugged Xu Yanyan's corpse, shaking her head in tears. "Brother, I don't want to see you for the time being. I want to give Miss Xu a proper burial first." Saying this, she left the room with Xu Yanyan. He Wenchao wanted to chase after her, but who knew that just after going out he wouldn't be able to find any trace of his sister and didn't know where she ran off to. Naturally, this is the result of Wen Renhe tricking He Wenchao's eyesight, making him unable to keep up with Bailey Qingmiao. It was already late at night as she went to the coffin shop. Bailey Qingmiao's mind was a mess as she paid an ingot of silver and took a coffin for Xu Yanyan's burial. Then she carried the coffin in one hand and flew to the graveyard near the town. She dug an earth pit and put the coffin in smoothly. She stared at the coffin for a long time, never covering it with dirt. Then a voice came from behind her. "This lord can teach you the soul-locking technique, so before she enters the underworld, you can catch her soul and ask for clarification of this matter. The living can lie, but the dead souls don't dare to in front of the soul-locking technique." Bailey Qingmiao turned around and saw Wen Renhe standing behind her. She whispered, "Senior, I used a technique to charm He Wenchao's eyesight, so he can't follow you." Wen Renhe said, "He won't know about it, you can feel free to inquire." "Will it cause harm to Miss Xu's spirit?" Bailey Qingmiao asked. "That's natural, after the use of soul-locking technique, she will be unable to reincarnate for eternity." Wen Renhe said without a care in the world. "No." Bailey Qingmiao shook her head. "Miss Xu's life was miserable, I wish she will have a good family in the next life." "Don't you want to know the truth of the matter?" Wen Renhe asked. Bailey Qingmiao didn't speak. She lowered her head and looked at Xu Yanyan's coffin, raised her hand and paused the dirt on the coffin. As the dirt buried the coffin, it also buried the doubts in her heart. In fact, Xu Yanyan was telling Bailey Qingmiao that she had a relationship with He Wenchao. But she liked Bailey Qingmiao and felt ashamed to face her, which was why she chose to take poison before Bailey Qingmiao could question her. Bailey Qingmiao guessed it, but she was unwilling to believe it when there was no substantial evidence. "If He Wenchao really betrayed you, I'll help you kill him if you ask for it clearly." Wen Renhe's deep voice sounded from behind her back, which was like the ravings of demons. Bailey Qingmiao was so frightened that she was frantically shaking her head. "No, no way, even if my senior brother really broke the promise, we only made a verbal agreement. We didn't marry. How can you kill someone over this if you haven't formed a Dao couple with this person? At most, I will be happy to say goodbye to senior brother. Moreover, the senior brother may not be. Maybe someone is framing him, he is a gentleman, he would never take advantage of someone and put them in danger." When Renhe raised his eyebrow, he also heard Xu Yanyan sigh in the coffin. It seemed that the right protector also felt that there was something wrong with Bailey Qingmiao's brain. "If you really like He Wenchao, I have another solution," Wen Renhe continued, "refine him into a puppet so that he will listen to you and only you. This way he will never betray you for the rest of your life, isn't it right?" Bailey Qingmiao was horrified. "Senior, how can you think like that? Love is something you are willing to give, it's not something you can force. Suit yourself then." When Renhe left, leaving Bailey Qingmiao alone to carve the tombstone for Xu Yanyan. As she left the town at the foot of the Shangqing Sect's mountain, Xu Yanyan also left, catching up with Lord and Yin Hanjiang, and the three of them returned to the Shenyuan sect main array. Upon returning, Xu Yanyan rolled her eyes. "Bailey Qingmiao has a dead brain, what's so good about He Wenchao? This protector was bored to death of eating him. Before the demon war I'm going to eat more meat and other dishes." Wen Renhe asked. "You don't understand either. I thought that you should understand Bailey Qingmiao's thoughts, being a woman. Venerable, if I act like I have a deep and unrepentant love for a man, it must be because he has some use for me," Xu Yanyan said positively. "If I backstabbed He Wenchao like I wanted, he could be sent away from the Shangqing sect." As she spoke, she called for one of her currently favorite men, a handsome and extraordinary-looking man. Xu Yanyan hooked the other's chin and said, "Darling, tell this protector what you like about me." That subordinate was also at the nascent soul, naturally embraced Xu Yanyan saying, "Naturally, the protector is wise and beautiful, and this subordinate admires the protector." Wen Renhe said, "Speak clearly." The man fell down on his knees, not daring to tell a single lie in front of Wen Renhe pressure. "Of course I follow the right protector to eat. Double cultivation can improve my power, and also the protector is beautiful, I don't lose anything." Xu Yanyan didn't care and pulled up her subordinate. "I just like how you know what's going on. Why don't you expose your relationship with Yuan Chao and let Bailey Qingmiao relationship die completely?" Wen Renhe asked Xu Yanyan. "Of course we can't. It is for the upcoming war. I'm afraid that if Yuan Chao has a fight with Bailey Qingmiao, the Shangqing sect will change their plans and prevent him from guarding the formation. The position of every disciple in the absolute spiritual array is calculated, so if you change even one person, you will have to change all the formations. Your subordinates can't let Yuan Chao get into trouble at this moment. Before this matter is solved, he will have a way to coax Bailey Qingmiao, and the position of guarding the absolute spiritual array will still be his. She was going to severely demoralize the righteous way and switch the balance power between the righteous and the demonic way. How could she ruin her plan over such a small matter?" Mentioning the massive demon war, Wen Renhe said, "Order the 4 altar masters to prepare for battle." When it came to business, Xu Yanyan couldn't care less about the lingering feelings of the heart. She patted her chest and said, "Call some people who have good skill, I will be in the spirit gathering array." The subordinate smiled and left. When Renhe nodded at Xu Yanyan's unconcerned appearance, this was what a demonic cultivator should look like. The 4 array masters of the Shenyuan sect immediately came to the main altar to discuss countermeasures after receiving the order from Venerable. Before the meeting, they heard Wen Renhe praising Xu Yanyan's sacrifice in this matter and promised that after the massive demon war, Xu Yanyan could cultivate in the Shenyuan sect's forbidden area for the next 10 years. All the major sects have immortal weapons, and as the first demonic sect, the Shenyuan sect also had immortal weapons in the forbidden area, and the famous burning sky drum is kept in this area. It was said to be used on the battlefield of the immortal realm, and the blood of countless immortal demons condensed into this burning drum, which makes it extremely powerful. However, at present, no one in Shenyuan sect dared to play this drum, and they only practiced cultivation on the drum's surface. Back then, during the duel between Wen Renhe and the old patriarch of the Shenyuan sect, the old patriarch struck the burning sky drum to save his own life, which indeed caused damage to Wen Renhe. But before the old patriarch could kill Wen Renhe, he was possessed by the immortal devil battle intent of the burning sky drum and had hallucinations of being in the battlefield of the immortals and demons. The devil which possessed him destroyed his soul before he could seriously injure Wen Renhe. This drum cultivation was good, but one couldn't use it. Using it will only result in the cultivator's death. Xu Yanyan happily thanked Venerable Devil for his reward and glanced over the 4 array masters smiling. "After this cultivation, I may be able to advance to Mahayana realm. Well, and then be killed by heavenly thunder," Qiu Zongxue altar master said. She was the only female cultivator among the 4 great array masters, and had been looking at Xu Yanyan cultivation in 2 different ways. She was also already a Mahayana realm cultivator stronger than Xu Yanyan. Xu Yangyan was somewhat afraid of Qiu Zongxue. She cultivated the most difficult ghost path. In order to advance to Mahayana realm, she voluntarily entered the cultivation of the hungry ghost path. When she came out of the hungry ghost path 50 years later, all the flesh and blood in her body was gone, leaving only a withered body and an intact head. The subordinates, who were led by Qiu Zongxue, were also ghost cultivators, and everyone dressed themselves in black robes. Their heads might look normal, but no one knew how the body under the black robe looked like. When Renhe's gaze swept over his 6 subordinates, to engage in intrigue, to fight with each other, to cripple each other even from the same sect. Deep in his heart he was quite satisfied that this was the way of the demonic patch. Out of curiosity, he still asked Qiu Zongxue, Beret Master Qiu, if you have a lover and he betrays you to be with another woman, but still says, he loves you, what would you do? Qiu Zongxue's face was bloodless, her emotionless voice rang out. I will not have a lover, and if I do, I will turn him into an evil ghost and refine him into a magic weapon to hide him inside my robe. Xu Yanyan swallowed her saliva. She knew that Qiu Zongxue's robe was full of evil spirits and her body was withered. When Renha thought in his heart, it was really useless to ask his subordinates about it. Edited by Ninja. Proofread by Mari. Chapter 12.1 Mountain rain is approaching. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Yuan Tanzhu is one of the altar masters of Shenyuan sect. He had the most contact with Wen Renha and would most likely figure out what he wanted. Seeing his lord's gaze at the useless group, he hurriedly stepped forward and said. The person Lord mentioned is a woman. It is not very useful to ask the right protector and Qiu altar master about women's affairs, you should naturally ask this subordinate. Both Xu Yanyan and Qiu Zongxue looked at the altar master Yuan Tanzhu. What did he mean by, it is not very useful, to ask them about women's matters? Aren't they women? Yuan altar master ignored their needle-like glares and continued. This subordinate dares to ask, what Venerable needs this woman to do? Nothing much, just forget a man. Wen Renha said. Altar master Yuan Tanzhu was very chubby, like a fat uncle next door. When he smiled, his eyes narrowed, making him look very friendly, but his words were not gentle. It seems to me that there are only two ways. First, kill the man, and second, find another man to make this woman fall in love with. When Renha thought about it, and the first option was currently not feasible. Bailey Qingmiao deeply loved He Wenchao, and if He Wenchao died now, it would become a huge scar on Bailey Qingmiao's heart. Trapped by this love, she would definitely not be able to survive nascent soul tribulation. The second solution was more interesting, but where to find this man? In the book Abusive Love Affair. You are the only one. I will never change. Male lead number 1 He Wenchao, male lead number 2 Wen Renha, and male lead number 4 In Hanjiang have already been ruled out. Male lead number 5 was currently less than a year old and was temporarily useless, leaving only male lead number 3 Zhong Liqian. However, Zhong Liqian's appearance was much later than male lead no. 5. On the day He Wenchao got married to the master of the Xiling Pavilion, he came to congratulate them on the behalf of the Zhong family, the number 1 family in the cultivation world. He met Bailey Qingmiao, who was trying to escape from the trap set by He Wenchao. The incident takes place 50 years from now. When Renha didn't have the patience to wait for 50 years, so, after recovering from the wounds he would receive during the massive demon war, he plans to go to the Zhong family, tie up Zhong Liqian and then leave him with Bailey Qingmiao so they can nurture their feelings slowly. The second solution is not bad, Wen Renha said and looked at the Yuan altar master appreciatively. Let's put this matter aside for now. We will focus on the massive demon war and discuss merits and reward after the battle. Yes. 5 people said in unison. In the following meeting, Xu Yanyan shared the arrangement of the righteous path, and several altar masters each expressed their own opinions, finally setting the plan of the battle. Each person had assigned their battle tasks before they left. After leaving the meeting hall, altar master Yuan Tanzhu leaned close to Xu Yanyan and inquired. Right Protector Xu, does Venerable have a woman he likes? What? Xu Yanyan glanced at the Yuan altar master. Do you want to take advantage of the Lord's love to secretly harm him? Xu Yanyan spoke frankly, and the Yuan altar master also waved his hand deliberately as he said. No, no, how could it be? During their conversation, the other 3 altar masters also came over. Even the cold Qiu Zongxue's remaining head showed an expression of, I'll be energized if you say that the assassination of Devil Venerable is involved, for a pair of eyes stared at Xu Yanyan. Xu Yanyan sighed. You all have been thinking too much. Based on my many years of experience, the Lord shouldn't be interested in that woman but just want to accept her as a disciple. He wants a person from a righteous path to cultivate a merciless path. I don't know what he is thinking. The four altar masters immediately lost interest. Demonic cultivation wasn't as focused on sect heritage as the righteous path. Their cultivation path was their own, and when they were in a good mood they would also teach them to their subordinates. Would that be considered taking in a disciple? Why does the Lord want to accept a disciple? Do you want to wait until she cultivates the merciless path and kill her own master? Altar Master Yuan Tanju was puzzled. How would I know? That woman's qualifications are really good. She built her foundation at the age of 18 and reached the golden core stage in the same year. It's just that her brain is full of a man. Xu Yanyan shrugged her shoulders and quickly left the main altar. Her pile of fresh dishes were still waiting for her to taste. The rest of the altar masters nodded their heads after hearing about Bailey Qingmiao's cultivation speed. Such a qualification was indeed worthy of attention. It was not impossible to accept her as a disciple at sight. L.RG After his subordinates left, when Renha and Yin Hanjiang were left in the General Assembly Hall and said, there should still be a 2 to 3 months time left till the massive demon war. During this period, you should strive to break through the void realm and become the main part of the battle force. Yes. Yin Hanjiang said. This venerable will take you to a place. When Renha got up and led Yin Hanjiang to the mountain on the back of the Shenyuan sect. The valley at the back of the mountain was pitch black, making it impossible to see what was below. Ordinary people should be able to see to the bottom under the sunlight, not to mention the fact that a cultivator's divine sense was so powerful that even if their eyes couldn't see, they could still use their divine sense to investigate. When Renha leapt into the valley and Yin Hanjiang followed, not stopping at all due to the strangeness of the valley. Then he realized that he had flown dozens of meters before he stepped on something solid and flat, but it didn't feel like landing on the ground at all. This place is? Yin Hanjiang asked hesitantly. What is beneath your feet is the burning sky drum. When Renha said, the most precious treasure of Shenyuan sect. If it wasn't for that old patriarch's sacrifice to use burning sky drum to deal with me back then, I wouldn't have known that this magical weapon was hidden here. This was a magic weapon that only the sect master of the Shenyuan sect had the authority to use, and Yin Hanjiang did not expect the Lord would trust him to the point that he would bring him to the burning sky drum's location. Although the burning sky drum is a magic weapon, it has absorbed the blood of many immortals, and whether it is a righteous path or demonic path weapon depends on how cultivators use the drum. You will be cultivating on the burning sky drum for the next few months, using the demonic chi contained in the demon sword to stimulate the immortal chi in the burning sky drum. Using the immortal chi of burning sky drum you can quench the demonic chi of the demon sword. When Renha said Yin Hanjiang used the demon sword to forcefully increase his strength, which was why his cultivation strength was already inseparable from the demon sword. Even if the new magic treasure was made, it would be difficult for Yin Hanjiang to successfully refine his own magic treasure, because it would be unable to overcome the residual power of the demon sword. Only through this cultivation method, could he completely get rid of the demon sword's influence. Venerable Yin Hanjiang stood on top of the burning sky drum and looked at the Wen Renha. The Shenyuan sect had obtained the burning sky drum many years ago, but no one had the opportunity to see it except for the sect master. It was already surprising that when Renha promised to let Xu Yangyan cultivate on the drum, but Yin Hanjiang didn't expect that he would come here even before Right Protector Xu. He didn't say any more about what virtues he as a subordinate had and that he didn't dare to accept. Devil Venerable already said it was up to him to decide whether or not he had virtue and ability. Yin Hanjiang's expression was firm, cupping his hands and kneeling on one knee, he solemnly said. I will do my best to break through the realm of void and clear all obstacles for the Lord in the massive demon war. I didn't ask you to fight to death. When Renha raised his right hand slightly, and helped Yin Hanjiang up with all his strength. Cultivate hard, this venerable will wait for you to help me heal after the battle. When Renha didn't want Bailey Qingmiao to save him this time, it was enough to owe karma for starting cultivation. He didn't want to add favor of saving his life. In the book, double karma was added to Wen Renha's body, which was why he was willing to give up everything for Bailey Qingmiao. Speaking of which, when Renha took out the book and tapped his fingertips on the cover, suddenly thinking that the plot of the book foreshadowed one more thing, this was, his love calamity was coming. If it wasn't for the perfect timing, location and harmony, how would Wen Renha fall in love with Bailey Qingmiao? At least in his previous meeting he never had the slightest bit of love for Bailey Qingmiao. He didn't know if this love calamity would come again and who would be on the receiving end. Wen Renha tried to deduce it but found that the will of heaven was unpredictable and he didn't know what would happen in the future. Withdrawing the abusive love affair, Wen Renha said to Yin Hanjiang, "You should cultivate, this venerable will protect you." When Yin Hanjiang heard that his lord would protect him during cultivation, he found this opportunity even more precious. He stared at the magic sword in his hand. If only he hadn't been too weak to suppress the demon sword. How could he bother Devil Venerable so much? When Renha left the valley and sat cross-legged on the mountain, he also closed his eyes to cultivate, feeling the breathing of Yin Hanjiang from below. It wasn't long before the sounds of war drums, swords as well as great changes in the heavens and earth were faintly heard. The memories of the righteous and demonic war in the burning sky drum were inspired by the demon sword, and soon an illusion had become established. The sword chi of Yin Hanjiang seemed weak to the illusion. Seemingly hindered by something, when Renha opened his eyes and offered his 7-star killing halberd's merciless path chi. It was like a guiding light, guiding the way for Yin Hanjiang. In front of him were mountains of corpses and a sea of blood, as well as his own small self as he searched among the corpses for his lord, feeling more and more anxious. In the moment of desperation, the 7 stars shone in the sky and a familiar chi awakened his senses. Yes, Venerable was protecting him while he was cultivating. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 12.2 Mountain Rain is approaching. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Yin Hanjiang changed his grip on the sword and the magic sword flashed in response to his chi. He held the sword that was trying to use the illusion to lure him into the nightmare. His body was overflowing with blood, as he used his sword chi to blow away the surrounding illusion. When Renha, feeling the familiar sword chi, showed an imperceptible smile, with his halberd braced against the ground, he stood on top of the mountain, quietly guarding Yin Hanjiang. Soon, 3 months went by. Xu Yanyan's subordinates informed her that the righteous path started to make their move and cultivators above the Golden Core realm gathered and started marching in the direction of Shenyuan's sect. Meet the enemy first, this venerable will need some more time. When Renha ignored Xu Yanyan's anxiety, and the halberd remained motionless. The massive demon war was going to last for 10 years, so few days didn't matter. Xu Yanyan was almost anxious to death when she received the order from Venerable. As Devil Venerable of the demonic sect, shouldn't he be eager to kill all those righteous cultivators at this time? What was he waiting for? Wait. Before the righteous senior cultivators make a move, shouldn't they kill all disciples under soul transformation realm like chopping vegetables to show the power of the demonic sect? After sulking for a while, she made the command of Wenrenge into a token. After transferring it to the other 4 altar masters, she picked up the veil and covered her face. A subordinate stepped forward and hugged Xu Yanyan waist, biting her ears and asked ambiguously, "Protector, why are you wearing a veil? It is such a pity to cover such a beautiful face." Xu Yanyan chuckled. "This time I joined hands with Altar Master Qiu to cut off the desperate spirit formation, need to check previously used formation name, which contains people. I don't want them to see me for the time being." The subordinate wondered. "Is there anyone that Protector is afraid to see?" Xu Yanyan pinched his chin, with a restrained smile, but her gaze was sharp. "It's not that I'm afraid, but some desserts are more interesting if you leave them to tease till the end." Xu Yanyan and Qiu Zongxue rendezvoused at the place of Xianyuan sect's spiritual vein. Soon a bunch of righteous disciples arrived, led by an elder. Xu Yanyan looked at them, alert and slightly panicked. This is Xianyuan sect gate. No outsiders are allowed. The soul combination realm elder said. This is the witch, who cultivates the art of enchantment. Everyone silently recite the clear heart mantra and focus on setting up the formation, don't be bewitched by her. The disciples listened to the order and ran to their respective positions according to the plan, 108 disciples holding 108 demon descending flags, using their true power to insert the demon descending flags into the earth vein intercept point, circulating their true chi and setting up the desperate spirit formation. He Wenchao silently recited the clear heart mantra, but his heart was still agitated. It had been 3 months since junior sister Bailey had been at odds with him, and no matter how he tried to explain his relationship with Xu Yanyan and coaxed her, Bailey Qingmiao only shook her head in frustration, saying that she wanted to be alone. After all his coaxing, she would even ask Yuan Chao with a sad face. Aren't you sad that Miss Xu is dead? Of course he was sad. It was a rare body. Thanks to her, Yuan Chao's cultivation progressed extremely fast. How could he not be sad? But at this time, no matter what he would answer, it would be answer of death. If he answered that he was sad, younger Marshall sister would believe they really had a relationship. If he answered he wasn't sad, younger Marshall sister would say that the woman he knew died in front of him, and if he wasn't sad, he was really too cold-hearted. Yuan Chao understood Bailey Qingmiao. She was very lovely, but sometimes she was too savagely. So his answer was. We knew Miss Xu for a while, she died in front of you and me. It's impossible not to be sad, after all I'm not a heartless person. But sister, we need to look forward, that's how the path of cultivation is. We may face more life and death in the future, we have to learn to understand. He cleverly transformed Bailey Qingmiao's suspicion of himself and Xu Yanyan into the fragility in the face of life and death. His sister always listened to him, and sure enough, she thought about life and death and gradually let it go. It was really a pity that he hasn't been forgiven yet. He hoped that after the massive demonic war and life and death separation, sister would cherish this relationship even more. Yuan Chao wasn't worried about Bailey Qingmiao's safety. She was at the back with Yao Wendan, ready to rescue the injured disciplines, which was the safest place. Yuan Chao would also be there after the desperate spirit formation was set up. The demonic qi would soon collapse without the support of heaven and earth qi. 108 demon descending banners would open borders to protect the disciples who set up the formation. This was an immortal treasure formation, so even if Devil Venerable himself came, he might not be able to break it. Under the protection of the soul combination realm elder, 2 demonic cultivators could not stop them at all. Soon the formation would be formed, and the qi of the entire Xianyuan sect mountain range would be completely drained. Yuan Chao looked at the 2 witches who were fighting with the elder and thought that the woman wearing a veil was somewhat familiar. Yuan Chao might have met her in the past when he went down the mountain to get rid of the demons. He found himself distracted, busy reciting the clear heart mantra and concentrating on supporting the formation. When the elder saw that the array had been completed, he quickly retreated. Planning to retreat into the protection of the array. But unexpectedly, the black-robed woman who was beaten down by him suddenly smiled strangely. The black robe was blown away by the wind, revealing countless hungry ghosts and eerie white bones beneath her robe. This woman actually only had one head, with not even a bit of flesh and blood under her. Qiu Zongxue stretched out her right hand and white bones clasped the shoulder of the elder, then countless hungry ghosts rushed to the elder along her fingertips. The miserable cry of ghosts made the elders numb. He wanted to cast a technique to disperse these fierce ghosts. However, a vicious spirit surged into his dantian, making him unable to mobilize half of his Genyu Qi. Mahaya, you are Qiu Zongxue, the Mahayana realm ghost cultivator. The elder of the soul transformation realm shouted. He wanted to tell the disciples to retreat as soon as possible, but one of the hungry ghosts already bit off his tongue, making him speechless. Mahayana realm expert was here. How could they defeat her? How could they be allowed to successfully set up an array? The demonic path was prepared for this. Oh no! This was the last thought of the soul transformation realm elder, who was surrounded by countless hungry ghosts, his consciousness fading as he was dragged into the Tao of hungry ghosts. This elder was from the Biluo sect. Seeing the tragic death of the elder, Biluo sect's disciples' eyes turned red as he shouted. Martial uncle! Hush! A white bone finger was held against this crying disciple's mouth across the array. The pale woman showed her white teeth and laughed lightly. Set up the array carefully, don't let your martial uncle die in vain. Don't even think of withdrawing the array and ruining away, you might still be protected by the array. But if even one flag is pulled out, everyone will die and I won't let you escape. She didn't know how many hungry ghosts were under her black robe. Within a short time, she covered all 10-mile radius. There was blood mist outside the desperate spirit formation, and the disciples couldn't see outside at all, so they could only struggle to support the array. Obviously they were the ones who had cut off the spirit veins, so why did they have the feeling that they were the ones being trapped? The 108 disciples heard Qiu Zongshue's voice in the blood mist. If the righteous path wants to provoke a war against the demonic path, my Xianyuan sect will welcome it with open doors. But it's best to have a fair fight. I don't like such trickery as cutting off spirit veins. He Wenchao immediately said. Everyone, don't panic. There's no way for her to break through the desperate spirit formation. As long as we persist, division elders will come to our rescue after our win. This time, even scattered immortals are out, they are mere Mahayana realm cultivators. Her words are meant to shake our minds and make us unable to maintain the array, so that she can break through without attack. Don't fall into her trap. His words appeased all the disciples and they immediately sealed their 5 senses and focused on maintaining the array. The boundary became stronger, and the fierce spirits couldn't get close. Xu Yanyan asked her subordinate to move her reclining chair and lazily laid on it. Watching Qiu Zongxue frighten the disciples, she couldn't help yawning and saying. We're really bad guys. What? Qiu Zongshue's icy cold gaze swept over Xu Yanyan's delicate body. It's nothing, Xu Yanyan rested her chin, this is the true nature of the demonic patch. I like to be the bad guy. Be patient, don't spoil the Lord's plan. He wants to draw the righteous experts out for a battle. Qiu Zongxue warned. Che, he doesn't know what he's doing. Xu Yanyan rolled her eyes in an unsightly manner. Unknown to all, Devil Venerable stayed in the valley. The desperate spirit formation didn't affect the aura around the burning sky drum at all. He patiently waited for another 40.9 days and then he saw a powerful sword piercing the black fog in the valley. Yin Hanjiang's demonic sword flew to the front of him. The restless spirit of the demonic sword was so weak that Yin Hanjiang firmly held it in his hand, making it unable to set off any more waves. Second level of Void Realm. When Renhe patted Yin Hanjiang's shoulder in satisfaction, and with a swing of his long sleeves, he turned around. Follow me to meet the enemy. Edited by Ninja. Proofread by Mari. Chapter 13.1. Breaking the Frontlines. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter sponsored on ko.fi aria, Smile and Masrat. It was only then when Renhe casually took out one of the transmission talismans sent by several altar masters and the right protector and listened. Xu Yanyan's artificially flustered voice came from the transmission talisman. Oh my God! Lord, the righteousness path arranged to set up a desperate spirit formation. Me and Altar Master Qiu don't have the strength to destroy it. Alas, I can't do it. We'll try my best to endure their abuse till your lordship comes to save us. When Renhe. Even though he knew it was an act, Yin Hanjiang was still a little angry as he said. As the right protector she shouldn't expect the Lord to save her. She is incompetent. Wen Renhe was quite satisfied with Yin Hanjiang's words. Protector Shu's acting was first-rate in the matter of seducing men, but her acting when she feigned defeat in battle was just too bad. Yuan Tanju's talisman was different. When Wen Renhe smashed Yuan Tanju's communication talisman, a voice full of panic and anxiety sounded. Lord, when I was patrolling in the north of the mountain, I saw a large number of righteous path cultivators, all of them above soul transformation realm, but fortunately the other two altar masters were also around at that time. We led our regiment to fight, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was suddenly cut off, so we could only fight with our own Genyu Qi. Venerable, we need to destroy the desperate spirit formation immediately, and this subordinate begs you to use the burning sky drum. According to these two summons that were intentionally made for righteous path to listen to, Wen Renhe should rush to the desperate spirit formation with the burning sky drum to destroy the formation first. Therefore, there should be an ambush prepared on the way from the main altar to the desperate spirit formation, with an unknown number of experts from the righteous path. Wen Renhe said with satisfaction. Half a year ago I fought with scattered immortals at Wanli Ice Field. It is clear that I was able to defeat cultivators with higher realms than me, but my power did not improve in the slightest, and ordinary battles no longer improved my cultivation. I hope that this time, experts of the righteous path are gathered together and won't disappoint me. Saying this, he transformed into a ray of light and flew towards the direction of the desperate spirit formation at an extremely fast speed. Yin Hanjiang's imperial devil sword followed after him, but was completely unable to keep up with Wen Renhe. In the past, he had always waited for Yin Hanjiang, but today he didn't restrain his strength. His speed was way faster than that of Yin Hanjiang's. Even though Yin Hanjiang had already broken through the realm of void and had comprehended a very profound sword chi on the burning sky drum, he was still unable to keep up with Devil Venerable's speed. When Yin Hanjiang caught up with Wen Renhe, he saw him in the middle of the formation, surrounded by a dozen Mahayana realm cultivators. When Yin Hanjiang saw this, his eyes turned red, and he became so angry he wanted to rush into the formation to fight alongside his lord. Who knew that at this moment Yin Hanjiang would hear a ruthless, angry shout. Retreat! Yin Hanjiang paused and stood outside the formation, saw Wen Renhe turn his head with a content smile. I was completely unaware that the righteous path would actually send their elites to deal with me. I am very happy, don't spoil this venerable pleasure, Protector Yin. Yin Hanjiang knew Wen Renhe, he had been watching the Devil Venerable for so many years, every action and expression of Wen Renhe, Yin Hanjiang knew very well. He could tell that His Eminence was truly surprised and happy. Wen Renhe had great expectations for the massive demon war. When he analyzed it privately with Yin Hanjiang, he felt that the righteous path might send around 10 Mahayana experts and maybe some scattered immortals from various sections. Wen Renhe felt that 10 would be a bit small and it would be difficult for him to break through without being on the verge of death, but it was good for the other ordinary disciples, who could make a breakthrough. Neither he nor Yin Hanjiang would have guessed that the righteousness path would bring 12 Mahayana masters, 8 scattered immortals and 1 heavenly immortal. All 21 masters arranged their array in advance to encircle Wen Renhe, vowing to kill the number 1 demonic path sect master. Unlike what was recorded in the book, in which only Shangqing sent out their full strength, this time the entire 5 righteous sects sent their main force to battle. Ha 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 ha. The sky echoed with Renhe's laughter. Yin Hanjiang could hear from his laughter how happy he was at this time. He really believed that even if he died in this war, it wouldn't matter. This was different from the plan. There were too many opponents. Venerable was really in danger. Yin Hanjiang quietly closed his eyes and immediately opened them again. His eyes were filled with determination as he rushed towards the array with his sword. For the first time, he disobeyed his lord's order, and even if he had to die, he would rather die before his lord. Watching his lord encounter danger while he could do nothing, Yin Hanjiang couldn't stand it. Alcade, star symbolizing destruction, has already appeared. The master of Joshing sect saw Yin Hanjiang and reminded others. Polis, star symbolizing power, has already fallen and Alcade has gone mad. They must be eliminated together, or they will surely bring disaster to the world. A Shangqing sect scattered immortal casually flung out a metal ring with a dragon carved on it. The golden dragon was biting its tail with its mouth. This was the second immortal weapon of the Shangqing school. Dragon locking ring. Under the power of the dragon locking ring, even immortals would be trapped. Seeing that the dragon locking ring was about to trap Yin Hanjiang, a long black halberd in golden light rammed into the ring with a clang, making the ring turn into a golden dragon and tightly wrap round the 7-star killing halberd. When Renhe followed and appeared in front of Yin Hanjiang, stopped him and whispered. "Go. My lord." Yin Hanjiang was holding his swords, his eyes bloodshot, never taking a step away from Renhe. When Renhe understood what he was thinking, the master of Joshing sect was right. If Polis died, the Alcade would definitely go mad. Yin Hanjiang could not watch his lord being surrounded by so many people and turn away. "I promise you, I will never die." When Renhe stretched out his hand and pressed it against Yin Hanjiang's heart. His face was so close to Yin Hanjiang, so close that their lips seemed to be almost touching. Yin Hanjiang looked into his lord's eyes and heard Renhe say. 10 years from now, the desperate spirit formation will be broken and you will see how this venerable will break it. After that, Yin Hanjiang was pushed out with a strong hand. His internal chi pushed Yin Hanjiang out of the gap exposed by the formation when the dragon locking ring and the 7 killings halberd had fought. Yin Hanjiang watched as the formation boundary immediately closed after he was pushed out. His lord was trapped in the formation with 20.1 experts at the same time. But unable to resist Renhe's strength, he was pushed further and further away until he was barely able to stop above the formation. "My lord." With a cry of pain, Yin Hanjiang's magic sword merged into his body, transforming into countless blood swords that flew directly to the north of the mountain range. In the northern part of the Xianyuan sect mountain range, hundreds of cultivators above soul transformation were engaged in a fierce battle with the Yuan altar master and the others. After the desperate spirit formation was set up. Not to mention demonic path, but even righteous path cultivators were unable to invoke the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. However, the righteous path came prepared this time, and the 9 void realm cultivators at the rear were manipulating the 9 flags, making 9 magical weapons form a spatial channel to channel the spiritual chi from the distant spiritual veins continuously. Each righteous cultivator wore a magic weapon that was connected to the different flag, providing them with spiritual chi. The demonic path couldn't absorb the chi, while the righteous path had the power to success. Thus the war was a battle of attrition. As long as the genuine chi was consumed completely, the righteous path would win. Countless whirling blood swords were like speeding arrows, passing through the clouds. Surpassing the demonic path cultivators, several righteous path cultivators forced the altar master Wan Wei into the formation, concentrating all attacks on him. "Yin Hanjiang, I'll fuck your grandma." The Wan altar master hurriedly offered his shield, helping Yin Hanjiang and himself to block the attack. Yin Hanjiang completely ignored the anger of Wan altar master. Wan Wei has Earth's spiritual root. This spiritual root has the greatest affinity to the ground and its main attribute is defense and the strongest at that. He wanted to destroy the flags as fast as he could, but he couldn't recklessly rush to the flags alone. He needed someone with a strong defense, hence he selected Wan altar master. Even though altar master Wan was a Mahayana stage cultivator, he knew that he must obey Yin Hanjiang's orders at this time. This brat didn't care about his life when he fought, and if he resisted, Yin Hanjiang would kill himself first. While cursing Yin Hanjiang, altar master Wan yelled. "What are you all doing? Quickly support me and protector Yin, if you're fucking dazed I'll be killed." Under the roar of altar master Wan, the demonic path finally concentrated their strength, no longer defending themselves at all, and struggled to kill open a path for Yin Hanjiang. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 13.2 Breaking the frontlines. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The demonic path had been ruled by Wenrenha over the years, so the demonic cultivators knew that if Wenrenha and Yin Hanjiang survived the war, for those who didn't contribute to the battle it would not just end with a simple death. If you died in battle and saved your soul, you could go to Altar Master Chio and ask for help to turn yourself into a ghost cultivator, but if you provoked Wenrenha, forget ghost cultivating, you wouldn't be able to die even if you wanted to. The demonic cultivators were not afraid of death and fought recklessly, but the righteous cultivators couldn't be so reckless. After fighting for a while, Yin Hanjiang arrived at the rear camp with his bloody arrows like swords and saw the formation overflowing with qi due to the different flags. He manipulated some of the blood arrows to carry Altar Master Wan to block the eye of the array. Yin Hanjiang. I'm not going to fuck your grandmother anymore. If I survive, this time I'm going to fucking fuck you, so just you wait. Altar Master Wan cursed as he was thrown into the eye of the array. In Yin Hanjiang's eyes, there was only Wenrenha who should be protected. He doesn't find any value in his own or others' life. So for Wenrenha's sake, he is ready to offer not just his own life but also that of the living beings in the entire world. Ruan Wei was taken by Yin Hanjiang to block the eye of the array, so he summoned his own magic weapon, the Xuanwu armor. The earthy yellow armor wrapped around Altar Master Ruan's body like a large turtle shell. When his entire body was covered and solid, he started getting bigger and bigger, just enough to block this strange spirit array. At the same time, countless blood swords condensed into 9 and demonic qi filled the sky as the 9 swords stabbed straight into the dantians of the 9 cultivators. No one would doubt the power of these 9 swords. If one was really pierced by one of those swords, their soul force would be invaded by the demonic qi, if not destroyed. The 9 cultivators were busy circulating their genuine qi to protect their bodies. Unexpectedly, the 9 swords split into 2 in the moment they were about to touch the cultivator, and the other bloody sword actually rushed towards the 9 different flags. No one had expected that Yin Hanjiang would actually use the blood swords condensed from his own flesh to attack the quasi-immortal weapon. Although these flags were not considered an immortal weapon, they definitely exceeded the power of the cultivation world's ordinary magic tools with room to grow into something even more valuable. These kinds of magic tools were called quasi-immortal weapons in the cultivation world. It was like hitting a stone with an egg and meeting a blade with bare flesh. The swords clashed with the flags, creating a terrifying roar. Yin Hanjiang, who was covered in blood, stood on top of the earthy yellow turtle shell of Altar Master Wan holding 9 broken flags. If you want to fight, then fight fairly. Blood was flowing down from the corners of Yin Hanjiang's mouth as his voice spread throughout the battlefield. My Shenyuan sect will never fear foreign enemies. My esteemed lord welcomes all who have come to challenge him, but you must remember one thing, Yin Hanjiang will not allow anyone who schemes on the battlefield to harm the esteemed lord. With a casual toss, 9 tattered flags fell to the ground out of his hands. The 9 guards of the array looked at Yin Hanjiang, who was running out of strength, but could not get close to him for a while. Whether friend or foe, under such determination, they could only feel respect. The flag array was broken, and as if a huge stone fell from Yin Hanjiang's mind, he felt relieved. Now everyone had to use genuine qi, nobody had an unlimited supply of heaven and earth qi. If it's like this, his lord would never lose. As soon as he felt relief, he fell to the ground heavily. Altar Master Wan tortoise shell scattered as he carried Yin Hanjiang with one hand and ran towards the demonic cultivators group while cursing. Fuck you. I lost over 100 years worth of accumulated genuine qi in this battle. Yin Hanjiang, if you go back and won't give me these 100 years of qi, I will go to Shu Yanyan to learn the qi absorbing technique to suck you dry. Yin Hanjiang didn't even hear Wan Wei's words, he had a faint smile on his face and muttered. My lord. I will never let you die before me, fuck. Hearing Yin Hanjiang's words, Altar Master Wan couldn't help but curse again. When the flag spirit formation was broken, both sides were in the same position, so it was unknown who would win or lose this battle. In the north of Xianyuan Sex Mountain, both demonic and righteous cultivators retreated 10 meters back, rearranging the formation that had been destroyed by Yin Hanjiang and preparing their magic weapons for the second round of confrontation. Under tremendous pressure, Altar Master Wan brought Yin Hanjiang back into the formation and threw the man to the medicine hall master, saying, "Heal him, when he wakes up, I'll kill him myself." Spitting blood as he spoke, the master of the medicine hall said with a trembling, "Altar Master Wan, you should also accept treatment. I don't think your wounds are light either, Ba. I can't be as weak as Yin Hanjiang, chicken." Before Wan Wei could finish speaking he fainted. The feminine-looking altar master Miao, "He is a man," said to the medicine hall master. "I used heart-devouring parasites on him, he won't wake up for a while. Take the wounded who can still be saved for treatment, recover them to 50% and throw them over to me for support. Don't dare to slack off till your last breath." Master of the medicine hall wiped his cold sweat. Not only knocking out the altar master Ryan but still using such terrifying parasites like the heart-devouring ones. After this battle the Miao altar master mainly did not intend on taking back the parasites from one altar master, so he would be under the control of Miao altar master forever. Well. The Miao altar master raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at the medicine hall master. The look in his eyes seemed to say, "This altar master has been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, how dare you question it?" The medicine hall master didn't dare to offend any of the altar masters, so he left with his medicine disciples carrying the wounded down for treatment. At the same time, the 20.1 cultivators who besieged Wenrenha stopped, and the Joshing sect master said worriedly, "If you want to kill Polis, you must stop Alcade first. The flag array has already broken. As expected, we shouldn't let Alcade go." Wenrenha, however, smiled proudly and said happily, "Worthy of being my vanguard." Yin Hanjiang swore his loyalty to Wenrenha with every move he made. "I have disagreed with this approach for a long time," the Heavenly Sword sect master said. "We have sent 21 cultivator experts to surround and kill Wenrenha, so why do we still need this spirit array and not attack directly?" Sect master of Heavenly Sword, Wenrenha said. "You are greatly mistaken, without these formations, you are in no way my opponent." Amitba, https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/amit%c4%81 bha, the abbot of Wuxiang Temple took off his robe, revealing the dragon subduing tattoo on half of his arm. The Buddhist staff glowed with Buddhist light as he said in a compassionate tone, "I wonder if this old man would be enough. You're pretty much the same." When Renha laughed, the 7 killing stars halberd burst out in an unprecedented light under the support of Wen Renha. The wind sped up due to Wen Renha's battle intent fluttering his robe. Even if a Mahayana realm cultivator didn't have the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, his soul force was still inexhaustible, and this unprecedented battle was 10 years in the making. Over the past 10 years, disciples such as Bailey Qingmiao and Yao Wendan have been collecting countless bodies of their fellow righteous disciples. The proportion of the dead was more than that of the wounded and more severely injured than lightly injured. Those who were lightly injured were treated slightly and then they had to go to the battlefield again. Regardless of the righteous or demonic path, both sides suffered heavy losses. With the fall of these cultivators, the sun, moon and stars shone brightly, and the weather for the past 10 years was favorable, the wars had stopped and the world ushered in 10 years of a prosperous dynasty. After 10 years, both righteous and demonic qi have dried up. Qiu Congxue dragged Xu Yanyan, who was only interested in pleasure, out of the bed and said coldly, "It's almost time." Xu Yanyan put on her clothes and light veil, before saying to Qiu Congxue, "I know, I'm a key part of this battle. You said, there is no qi on the battlefield, is everyone spitting? If you spit, I will spit. Shut up." Qiu Congxue didn't want to chat with Xu Yanyan at all, so she threw her into the ghost array. Shu Yangyan circulated her soul force and gracefully turned around, landing on the desperate spirit formation like a fairy. Qiu Zongxue cooperated by dispersing the blood mist, and He Wenchao in the desperate spirit formation saw the veiled witch smile at him. With the palm of her hand, she actually entered the desperate spirit formation from his side. How? He Wenchao didn't expect that. They had been struggling for 10 years just for demonic cultivators to watch them in pleasure and to leisurely enter the formation. Do you still remember me? Shu Yanyan's voice was soft as she took off her veil and revealed a gentle and good-natured smile to He Wenchao. Shu, Miss Shu. He Wenchao was dumbfounded. Feeling the pain in his dantian, he looked down only to see Shu Yanyan's hand already probing into his dantian. It's strange how I was able to enter the formation, isn't it? Shu Yanyan smiled. The genuine qi that this protector provided can be taken back at any time, of course. Don't forget that you and I have cultivated for a half a year. Our yin and yang qi have intertwined, you are in me and I am in you. I echo your genuine qi. If I want to enter your genuine qi, it is equivalent to a door widely open for this protector. Then why are you still struggling with us for 10 years? He Wenchao said in complete disbelief. Why, if it not for our Devil Venerable, Shu Yanyan sighed. He said that the desperate spirit formation is good, otherwise we would absorb all spiritual energy of heaven and earth in this 10 years and the entire world would run out of the spiritual energy and become scorched and barren, not even blade of grass would grow. Now you are all at your wits' end and can't mobilize much of heaven and earth's spiritual energy, so it's the best time to break the formation. With a slight pull of her palm, she grabbed her genuine qi from He Wenchao dantian abruptly. What this protector gave will be taken back with interest. Your nascent soul cultivation, I will take it. Have you, Miss Shu, ever loved me? He Wenchao actually asked such a question at the moment when his nascent soul realm cultivation left his body. Shu Yanyan's thin lips opened lightly and uttered a heartless sentence. For me, the art of qi absorbing is no different than your righteous cultivator's absorption of spiritual energy of heaven and earth. When you were cultivating, did you ever love the spiritual energy of heaven and earth? He Wenchao's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe that he had actually heard such heartless words. Oh, by the way, even the spiritual energy of heaven and earth can be dense or thin, pure or impure. As far as this protector is concerned, your spiritual energy was extremely dull and arrogant, not at all comparable to those lovely disciples of this protector. She mercilessly yanked the nascent soul cultivation out of his body. He Wenchao fell from the sky, breaking destructive spirit formation. Qiu Zongxue hungry ghosts immediately entangled every disciple protecting the formation. The author has something to say. Shu Yanyan. I'm finally happy. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 14.1. The End of Massive Demon War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The desperate spirit formation forcibly changes the spiritual veins of the heavens and earth. There are 108 flags and 108 people who cultivated above the nascent soul realm and reached the threshold of experts among cultivators. No matter which sect, the one that could send more than 50 nascent soul cultivators at one go would be the #1 sect in the cultivation world. With 108 nascent soul realm cultivators, it would take the combined efforts of the entire righteous path to gather them together. But all it takes to dissipate the desperate spirit formation is misplacing one person. When choosing the candidates for desperate spirit formation, they were extremely careful, fearing that they would choose someone with ties to the demonic path, weak-willed or easily influenced by evil spirits. Thus the 108 nascent soul cultivators that had gathered were all future pillars of the righteousness path and dared to attack the demonic sect only because they were sure that this formation would never be broken. Who knew that Shu Yanyan had already planted an irremovable nail in the righteous path 11 years ago, and after 11 years she would shake the desperate spirit formation and the entire righteous path's plans. In mid-air, a girl in pink dress was holding a righteous path cultivator's nascent soul cultivation in her hand and casually inserted it in her own magic weapon, a budding otherworldly flower. Xu Yanyan's life-bound magic weapon was a quasi-magic weapon, which was as greedy as her. Every time she used it, she needed to feed it nascent soul cultivation before it would work. After swallowing He Wenchao's nascent soul cultivation, flowers slowly bloomed and paved a blood-red path among the fierce ghosts summoned by Qiu Zongxue, making a path that would lead souls to the other side of life. The remaining 107 disciples could only watch these two beautiful yet poisonous women. The disciples gradually lost consciousness amidst the fragrance of Mansushawa. https://line.17qq.com/article/knopf.html/story of https://www.saipantribune.com/index.php/the.legend.of.other.shore.flower/flowers. Xu Yanyan. Qiu Zongxue said angrily, "Your flowers have swallowed several of my fierce ghosts." Xu Yanyan said lazily, "You know my Mansushawa, I can't control it myself, it eats whoever it likes, can you control your own fierce ghost? As soon as I get close to you, I can hear hungry ghosts gnawing on your bones, doesn't it hurt? No wonder you couldn't beat Venerable even at Mahayana realm. You can't control your own weapons, which make you too weak." The two women mocked each other as they harvested the lives of their enemy. Qiu Zongxue also said discontentedly, "Lord, forbid me from devouring their souls, I feel bad." After saying it she gritted her teeth. Venerable said that dead cultivators can still reincarnate as ordinary people, so if one holds a deep grudge, one must not destroy people's souls. When we kill a cultivator who fights against the will of heaven, heaven will not count these sins on us. But if we destroy the people's souls, we will break the rules of 6 reincarnations. Heaven will count it as sin and our heavenly tribulation will be very bad. Xu Yanyan said. As a demonic cultivator, he kills people without blinking, but he still has an obsession in strange places. Qiu Zongxue continued disapprovingly. When I entered the merciless path, I didn't plan to turn back. Xu Yanyan shrugged. It doesn't matter if you don't approve of Venerable. But you should beat him first before you can say anything against him. We in the Shenyuan sect always follow the strongest one. As Mansushawa flowers bloomed, Dubhe star symbolizing lust, gradually dyed red. The crimson star shone brightly in the sky. As expected, said the master of the Joshing sect. Polis, Alcade and Dubhe star are the biggest obstacles in this massive demon war. The Bailu sect master said. Fortunately, we have a back-up. Amitba. The abbot of Wuxiang temple gently flicked the Buddha beads in his hand and uttered the Buddha's name, then threw the rosary into the air. At the same time, a peacock shining with multicolored Buddha light appeared above Xu Yanyan's and Qiu Zongxue's heads. Under the Buddha light the flowers on the other side withered. Xu Yanyan's smile froze in the corner of her mouth, and she said dryly, "No way, they even invited Buddhist master peacock Wang Faxiang this time." According to Buddhist legend, the peacock was born from a phoenix. Because he was hungry he swallowed the Buddha one day, but the Buddha cut his belly and wanted to kill him. The deities stopped him, believing that the peacock was destined to give birth to Buddha. He was escorted to Mount Lingshan, where he was named Buddha Mother Peacock Mahamudra. https://n.wikipedia.org/wiki/golden_winged_great_peng. The Peacock King has the power to stop disasters, eliminate diseases and prolong life, so both the flowers of Xu Yanyan and the hungry ghosts of Qiu Zongxue were suppressed to death. Under the Buddha's light, the flowers on the other side of the shore withered and resentment souls re-enter the circle of 6 reincarnations. Xu Yanyan was better, this was because she was still clean-minded. She had less desire, and the power of her charm was greatly reduced, but it did not hurt the origin of her strength. But Qiu Zongxue was different. She was originally a ghost cultivator, this time suppressing her entry into the circle of reincarnation, almost killed her. At this time, among the remaining dozens of nascent soul cultivators, 18 of them suddenly who took off their hoods, revealing 18 shiny bald heads. They sat cross-legged and started reciting Buddhist scriptures. What the heck? Xu Yanyan shouted in shock, I haven't heard anything about a bunch of bald heads in the formation, I can't do anything about these blades. Qiu Zongxue in the Buddha light said with a smile. We only need to fight for a while. Most of these righteous disciples were either killed or severely injured. So it is impossible for the injured to fight again. Our missions here are completed. Wait for me to break this Wang Faxiang's array and you can escape. Are you crazy? Do you want to get reincarnated? Xu Yanyan said. Are you, Qiu Zongxue, such a self-sacrificing person? Shut up. Qiu Zongxue kicked Xu Yanyan and flew to the sky by herself. Countless white bones appeared in front of Qiu Zongxue to block the Buddha light. A string of rosary beads were faintly seen in the Buddha light. Qiu Zongxue smelled herself burning as her white bones armor dissipated in the Buddha light. Saw it. She stretched out her white fingers and grabbed the string of Buddha beads before throwing them into the distance with great force. Xu Yanyan heard Qiu Zongxue let out a miserable scream as her figure disappeared in the Buddha light. The 18 Buddhist cultivators were spitting blood from their mouths, apparently without any fight. Both them as well as Qiu Zongxue lost. As the Buddha light disappeared, Xu Yanyan looked at the wounded righteous monks and those Buddhist cultivators who could no longer fight, put a smile on her face and faintly said, You guys go. The crowd who had thought she was going to kill them all, looked at Xu Yanyan in puzzlement, only to hear the evil girl from Shenyuan sect say. 10 years of this war has resulted in countless deaths and injuries, whether it's the righteous path or the demonic path. We all need 100 years to recuperate. Enough people died, I've also killed enough. With a piece of black clothing in her hand, she turned around and left, leaving still alive righteous cultivators dumbfounded. On the outskirts of the Shenyuan sect mountain range, Bailey Qingmiao kept picking up the fallen cultivators who were still breathing. In order to rescue them, she walked farther and farther away from her group. Seeing a black figure floating by the river, she hurriedly used her magic weapon which reflected the mysterious frost of the moon to pull this person from the river. Thank God, you're still alive, oh my God. All the flesh and blood on your body is actually gone. Your face is all black too, so I can't see which sect you are from. Are you male or female? Don't give up, you must keep living. Qiu Zongxue eyelids moved, conscious of the noise near her ears. She opened her eyes slightly and saw a woman in a goose-yellow dress tearfully healing her. Too noisy. Qiu Zongxue opened her mouth, finding that her own voice was burned out and could only produce a non-male non-female hoarse sound. You're still alive, uhu. Bailey Qingmiao cried sadly. Don't die, too many people have died. Already so many elders have died, you can't die. I don't want to see anyone die in front of my eyes ever again. Qiu Zongxue. She opened her eyes and for some reason, a paragraph appeared in her mind, only a ray of rising sunshine was sprinkled on Bailey Qingmiao. Her expression was gentle and determined, her appearance was truly beautiful as she was fighting to help. What the hell with this mess? Qiu Zongxue wrinkled her burned eyebrow, why did such a sour word suddenly appear in her mind? Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 14.2 The End of Massive Demon War. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the sun rising, the war on the other side was also coming to an end. The strength of the righteous and demonic path was almost the same. In the past 10 years, most of them have been wounded or killed. The pills saved up by the medicine hall for many years have been emptied. Even if they found more injured disciples, they couldn't save them. From the 4 altar masters, only altar master Yuan was still able to stand. Only one or two righteous cultivators could still move, so Altar Master Yuan asked. Are we still fighting? Our spiritual energy has not completely recovered, so if we continue to fight, both sides will surely lose. The righteous monk cultivator silently shook his head as he looked towards the battlefield of Wanrenha and 20.1 expert cultivators. 10 years, such a result was really tragic. Fortunately, they had already gained a chance of survival for the cultivation world, and had successfully avoided the small disaster of 10,000 years. Altar Master Yuan also bowed his head and said, in that case, please leave the Xianyuan sect, we will not launch a sneak attack. The righteous cultivators deliberated for a moment before nodding their heads. Helping his fellow cultivator on the side, they used a flying ship, a large-scale magic weapon to leave Xianyuan sect. On the battlefield of massive demon war, only the top 20.2 people were left. After several years of recuperation, Yin Hanjiang, whose wounds had gradually healed, didn't bother with the retreating cultivators. He stared straight at the battlefield. As the day passed and night fell, stars started twinkling on the night sky, but the star of Polis was dull and dark. My lord. Yin Hanjiang stood up with his sword and said nervously. Don't look, Venerable will not survive. Altar Master Yuan was the one who comforted him. He is under the siege of 21 cultivators, including one heavenly immortal cultivator. Do you know how powerful the heavenly immortal is? As soon as he reads the Buddha Sutra, the opponent's battle intent will be gone. Wanrenha has relied on his fierce fighting and his battle intent to defend against stronger cultivators numerous times. But Buddha is the biggest obstacle of all. Without his battle intent, Wanrenha is just Mahayana realm cultivator. The demonic path cultivators were double-faced and had 3-way character. It was demonstrated by Altar Master Yuan just a moment ago. The Altar Master addressed him as Venerable at one moment, and in the next it became Wanrenha. He really knew how to turn his back and not recognize people. After the consolation, he spat out a few death parasites and crushed them with his foot and started cursing, I'll kill you if you give me any more heart-devouring parasites. 10 years ago, when you heard that the Venerable might die, you already figured a way to control the altar's master and protectors to fight for the position of the sect master, right? With such a deep mind, why didn't the war between the righteous and demonic path kill you? It's almost the same as death, sighed the Altar Master Yuan. The mother parasite has been killed by others, otherwise would you be able to spit out the heart-devouring parasite so easily? Even the ruthless Altar Master Yuan, looking at the withered bones of the Xianyuan sect, couldn't help but say, too many people have died. The righteous path was also affected by one in a 10,000 years catastrophe. Altar Master Yuan said, in fact, the massive demon war has been very honest under Devil Venerable's control over the years. We only harmed righteous cultivators and didn't lay a hand on the ordinary people. Righteous path took the initiative to attack, launching the war between the righteous and the demonic path, and even used tactics such as the desperate spirit formation in order to deceive the heavenly will. Using such cataclysm to cleanse the human world for 10,000 years was worth so many lives. We are all people who are destined for the calamity, one Altar Master said in a rare and elegant manner. Then when he turned his head he saw that Yin Hanjiang was gone, and cursed, fuck his grandmother, where is Yin Hanjiang? Those who could still move craned their necks with difficulty, and saw that Yin Hanjiang's original position was empty. In the deep mountains, in the forbidden area of the Xianyuan sect, the sound of drums was heard faintly, one sound louder than another. After hearing the words of Altar Master Yuan, Yin Hanjiang understood what kind of attack Devil Venerable was facing this time. Battle intent. As long as there was battle intent, Devil Venerable will never lose. But now that 2 of the 3 battlefields have ceased, yet the Devil Venerable was still facing the Buddhist cultivator of Wuxiang Temple. What could he do without battle intent? In the moment of desperation, Yin Hanjiang remembered the burning sky drum and his memory of the massive demon war. He resolutely fused with his demonic sword and turned into countless blood swords as he rushed to the burning sky drum. Using the power of the void realm and his body as a hammer, he forcibly beat on burning sky drum. A soft, thump sound seemed to strike inside the heart of Wenrenha. He slowly opened his eyes, and in front of him, a kind-eyed old cultivator said, "Young General Wenrenha, don't fight it. Put down your butcher sword and become one with Buddha." Young General. It's been a long time since he heard anyone call him that in the past 300 years. 300 years ago, he was an ordinary man who served his country with great loyalty. But in return his entire family was executed. He hated and resented it. He wanted to kill as this world monarch, and later. What happened afterwards? Boom! The second beat of the drum struck again inside Wenrenha's heart. His eyebrows raised as the memory of a little boy appeared in his memory. So small, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the corner of his robe. Just like himself, who was left on the battlefield with only birth left and being rescued by the nearby people. But then he heard that one clan for 9 generations back was already put to the death. Young General, there is no end in this sea of bitterness, turn back to the shore. The old cultivator recited the Buddhist sutra again, and the killing intent that had just risen up in the Wenrenha heart dissipated again. Dong dong dong. The 3 rapid sounds of burning sky drum sounded urgently, like a horn urging Wenrenha. He saw another picture of a man in a ghost mask, holding his robe, in front of a lamp, his eyes peacefully closed. Dong 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 dong. The sound of the burning sky drum was so loud that it sounded like a man shouting in the ear of Wenrenha, "Venerable, Venerable, Venerable." Hearing this, Wenrenj opened his eyes completely and said to the old cultivator with a compassionate face in front of him. "Master asked me to put down my butcher sword, but do you want to ask my butcher sword if it wants to?" The abbot of Wuxiang Temple shook his head tremblingly. It was a failure after all. With these words, the illusion around him dissipated, and 20.1 cultivators raised their own weapons to aim at Wenrenha. If he woke up even a moment later, these weapons would have already killed him. The burning sky drum sound urged him to fight, so he raised his halberd and said in a loud voice, "If you can force me to this extent, it will be worthwhile for me to fight with all my might. We are all at the end of our lives, so let the heavens decide who will survive." After that, the Polis star in the sky shone brightly, and the 7 killing stars halberd of Wenrenha met the 20.1 weapons. The 20.2 supreme divine weapons collided with each other, and the huge force of heaven and earth clashed with each other, causing a thunderstorm. As the chatting demonic path looked at the sky, Ultra Master Wan said incredulously, "Devil Venerable is still alive. How did he survive?" 21 cultivators. Don't bother about changing your voice and calling Devil Venerable, and hurry up with the protective array. Do you want to die? Altar Master Yuan kicked Yuan Wei's ass. Yuan Wei quickly opened the Xian Yuan Sex Mountain Protection Formation. At the moment when the boundary was just formed, a bloody light rushed out of the formation and fearlessly killed his way into the circle. Yin Hanjiang didn't care what damage it would cause to his body caused by the fight between expert cultivators. His eyes were bloody red as he looked for Wenrenha figure among the countless falling debris. That limb was not his, this weapon was not his, exactly where was he? A Buddhist staff fell down and was about to hit Yin Hanjiang when a broken long halberd seemed to come alive, blocking the attack at Yin Hanjiang's body and stopping the staff for him. When Yin Hanjiang saw the halberd, he regained his human form and picked up Wenrenha's soul-bound magic weapon and found dying Wenrenha by the sound of its resonance. He flew forward and embraced Wenrenha. The joy of regaining him made Yin Hanjiang speechless. The two of them landed on the ground smoothly, as Yin Hanjiang hugged Wenrenha trembling. Wenrenha slowly extended his hand and rubbed his face, saying weakly, "Protector Yin, you finally saved this venerable." Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 15.1. Beheading and Carving Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With the help of the battle intent from the burning sky drum, Wenrenha came to his senses and fought with 21 master cultivators to death. He didn't know how many righteous cultivators had died and how many had survived. As for Wenrenha, he wanted to fight with all his might and exert all his strength to challenge his own limits and test how strong he was. He was originally attacked by his opponents without reservation, but was awakened by the sound of burning sky drum at the last moment. Yin Hanjiang beat on the burning sky drum using his void realm cultivation so that Wenrenha wouldn't die in battle. Before the war, he promised Yin Hanjiang that he would live through the battle, and Wenrenha never broke his promise. At the last moment he retained his strength and shielded his body, which gave him a chance to be saved by Yin Hanjiang. Wenrenha breathed a sigh of relief and lost consciousness after telling Yin Hanjiang that he was still alive. He was so badly injured that his spirit fell into a daze. He could vaguely hear Yin Hanjiang calling him, but his eyelids were heavy and could not wake up. In the book's plot, Wenrenha was also in a coma for a long time. When he woke up, he saw Bailey Qingmiao busily taking care of him and a ray of rising sunlight shining on her. Bailey Qingmiao's expression was gentle and firm, making her look very beautiful when she was determined to save someone. Under that sunlight or divine light, the Devil Venerable was moved. At first, Wenrenha didn't realize he had fallen in love, so he just coldly told this younger disciple that he could promise her a reward. Stunned, Bailey Qingmiao shook her head and said, "I just want you to live." Wenrenha suffered from a very serious internal injury and was not willing to go back with Bailey Qingmiao to Shangqing sect for treatment. Bailey Qingmiao had no choice but to use the summoning talisman given to her by her master Qing Rong to tell her fellow disciples that she had some important matter to attend to and needed to leave for a period of time. Before the start of the war, the Shangqing sect gave a jade slip to each of the disciples in charge of rescuing and healing to relay to them urgent knowledge about healing and where certain spiritual medicines grow. During the 3 months of Yin Hanjiang's seclusion, Bailey Qingmiao and her fellow disciples were busy reciting knowledge from jade slips and practicing the healing formulas. She found that Wenrenha's injury was serious and his dantian was in disarray, and even his genuine qi had disappeared. In order to save him, Bailey Qingmiao decided to take him to the Jiuding mountain recorded in the jade slips to find Jiu Yang, which can bring back the flesh and bones of the dead. She fought with the beasts that guarded the spiritual plant, and after she got Jiu Yang, she boiled it into a soup without even tasting a mouthful of it, and she fed it all to Wenrenha. In the original book, after he recovered from his injuries, he looked at Bailey Qingmiao with joyful smile and his heart finally became hers. He did not reveal his identity, but left a token, telling Bailey Qingmiao to call out to him in case of trouble. No matter how difficult it would be, he would do anything to help her. Bailey Qingmiao didn't even think of asking for a reward, but she was happy to save his life. After bidding farewell to Wenrenha, Bailey Qingmiao returned to the sect and saw He Wenchao, who had been emptied of his nascent soul cultivation, making her heart suddenly turn cold. He Wenchao, who was seriously injured and frustrated, asked Bailey Qingmiao, "Younger martial sister, when I was injured, I just wanted to see you for one last time. Where have you been?" Bailey Qingmiao cried so much that she was out of breath. At that time she already found Jiu Yang, but she did not use it to save her elder material brother, but gave it to a stranger. In order to save He Wenchao, she asked her elders about the way to save him, and went to the Gold Coast cliff alone. On her way she met Wenrenha, who was already paying attention to her movements, and they went on this journey together. This time, it was Yin Hanjiang who saved him. He didn't know where Jiu Yang was. When he saw Devil Venerable unconscious, he could only take him to the small valley where he was cultivating before. It was a small sect that Wenrenha was in when he first picked up Yin Hanjiang. Wenrenha was the sect master of this small sect, and after he unified the demonic path he secretly gave this place to Yin Hanjiang, and even arranged a formation. Now it was Yin Hanjiang's own place that other people had no knowledge of. When Wenrenha was fighting with the righteous master cultivators, Yin Hanjiang was alerted by the change of address by Altar Master Wan to Devil Venerable. Demonic path was very ambitious, from the protectors, altar masters to the disciples, they would all take advantage of your weakness to kill you. At this time, if Yin Hanjiang returned to Xianyuan's sect with the severely injured Wen Renhe, he was afraid that the first person he would need to kill was Xu Yanyan. The Xianyuan sect had a marvelous army under Devil Venerable's command when he was well, but when Devil Venerable was seriously injured, the Xianyuan sect was a dog-eat-dog kind of place. Yin Hanjiang did not dare to take him back to Xianyuan sect. He had two places in his mind. One was the border town where Yin Hanjiang grew up, and the other was the place where he was brought to by his lord when he was young. He took Wen Renhe and dived under the waterfall where he had been cultivating. There was a small cave full of spiritual energy, suitable for healing. Devil Venerable was seriously injured. Yin Hanjiang took out all the pills from his storage belt, selected some mild and replenishing spiritual medicines, and put them all into Wen Renhe's mouth. After hearing no breathing from Wen Renhe and noticing he was unable to swallow the medicine pills after a long hesitation, Yin Hanjiang apologized, "I am sorry," to Devil Venerable and opened his mouth, putting a mouthful of genuine qi into his mouth from a distance of several inches. He was careful to not touch his lord's pale lips and deliberately avoided touching them with his teeth. After taking the medicine, Yin Hanjiang put his genuine qi into Wen Renhe's body for about a week. He was relieved when he realized that Devil Venerable genuine qi had begun to actively work and absorb the medicine. After relaxing, Yin Hanjiang realized that he was unsteady on his own feet. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, and fainted at the feet of Wen Renhe. Back then, the old sect master of the Xianyuan sect was the pinnacle cultivator of the Mahayana realm. When he beat on the burning sky drum, he would be trapped by the illusion and possessed by demons. Yin Hanjiang had just entered the void realm, so when he used the drum his internal organs would naturally be severely damaged. However, he was wholeheartedly thinking about saving Wen Renhe, so he didn't care about his injuries and didn't feel the pain. It was not until Wen Renhe took a breath that Yin Hanjiang realized that he had also run out of oil. Wen Renhe woke up after absorbing the medicines and found that he was in a dark and humid cave. The man in black was lying at his feet with his face against the cold stone stairs. Turning the man over, he saw a patch of green moss growing against his face, just like in the folk ghost story book used to foil the cruel victims of ghosts. When Renhe let out a breath, his dantian was in pain as if they were being torn apart. He took off his black robe and saw that his body was full of wounds, sword wounds, knife wounds, whip wounds, stick wounds, caused by the 18 kinds of weapons. From almost all of them. The physical injury was a small matter, but his dantian was almost completely destroyed. His genuine qi was almost completely drained by 7-star killing halberd, which would not heal without Jiu Yang even if healed himself for 100 years. He propped up Yin Hanjiang and felt his palm become a little wet when he touched his clothes. When he untied his clothes, he saw that his flesh was split open. His thin body was split by some weapon and looked like it was sewn by a very thin thread. It was very difficult to find a piece of intact skin among various wounds. Wen Renhe only saw wounds and blood, making him feel shocked. He put his hand on Yin Hanjiang's heart and tried to heal him, but he couldn't mobilize a single bit of his genuine qi and could only sit down weakly against Yin Hanjiang, letting out a bleak laugh. For more than 300 years, since he entered the path of cultivation, he has never been in such a mess. In the book, Bailey Qingmiao found Jiu Yang to save him, and now in order to get rid of the plot he gave up his hope for easy survival and chose a very difficult road. Protector Yin. Wen Renhe said softly. The most difficult time in my life was 300 years ago when I was searching for my family in the mass grave, 270.3 decapitated bodies of the Wen clan all the way till their 9th generation. The culprit who was behind this massacre didn't bury them, the beheaded bodies were burned and dragged to the mass graves. It was only 7 days later that Wen Renhe rushed back to the capital. By then corpses were already so decomposed that he could not tell who was who. He searched day and night in the mass grave and dragged out 296 headless corpses, the youngest of which was 3 months old. Except for those who had more special bodies, the remaining 237 corpses, Wen Renhe could not tell who they were. Then there were also the corpses of other prisoners among them, so Wenrenha could not tell which of them was his own family. His whole family was loyal and good, but now there were only corpses left. The 16-year-old Wenrenha broke down in front of 296 headless corpses and cried bitterly, unable to vent his hatred. The abbot of the Wuxiang temple was so powerful that he could not help reminding him of the things he had already forgotten after 300 years. He looked sideways at Yin Hanjiang's closed eyes, and a faint smile appeared in his eyes. "Protector Yin, do you know how happy I was when I walked past the mass grave and saw a pair of hands grabbing me? 100 years ago, when Wenrenha thought he had already forgotten what had happened, a small hand reached for the corner of his clothes. He took a child out of the pile of the corpses and touched his neck. It was not a beheaded corpse. After putting his ear to the child's heart, he heard a faint heartbeat of the child's which sounded heavenly. At that moment, the cold-hearted Wenrenha held the little Yin Hanjing in his arms and tears fell from his eyes that he didn't even notice. It was as if the feeling of the powerlessness of the 16-year-old was being vented at that moment. He finally saved a life. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 15.2 Beheading and Carving Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wenrenha held Yin Hanjiang tighter. The child he saved back then was now dying. This silly child was already seriously injured, yet he forcibly gave his genuine qi to Wenrenha, letting go of his last trace of vitality. "Yin Hanjiang, since I already saved you once, I can save you for a second time. As long as I don't allow you to die, you will not die." Wenrenha's face sank as he looked at the sword beside Yin Hanjiang. Yin Hanjiang never stored the sword in his storage bag and stubbornly became a sword protector, making this sword gain some self-consciousness. After Wenrenha entered the cultivation path, he had stolen many cultivation methods from the demonic path, and one of them, which was the most difficult to cultivate, seemed just right for him. "Your name is Red Underworld Sword," Wenrenha said to the Devil Sword. When he threw this sword to Yin Hanjiang, he never told him the name of the sword. Because when you called out the name of the sword you would awaken its consciousness. When the Red Underworld Sword heard someone calling its name, the sword trembled and left the sheath on its own accord, floating in front of Wenrenha with countless strange patterns appearing on the sword that Yin Hanjiang had never seen before. Wenrenha looked at the sword and recited a technique. Lines appeared on his body which looked similar to the Red Underworld Sword. It was a life-bound magic weapon, so when 7-star Killing Halberd sensed what Wenrenha was about to do, it started buzzing. Wenrenha raised his hand slightly and commanded at 7-star Killing Halberd. "Don't make any noise." 7-star Killing Halberd shook a few times, but it was forcefully suppressed by Wenrenha and finally quieted down. The Red Underworld Sword turned into countless blood swords while Wenrenha recited the technique. The swords pierced Wenrenha's body in pattern. As countless blood swords pierced the man in the cave, blood splattered against the stone wall and fell on Yin Hanjiang's face. Yin Hanjiang's eyelashes trembled painfully several times, but in the end he failed to open his eyes and see his lord, whom he was determined to protect. Devil Venerable, who was cut with Red Underworld Sword, embarked on a road of death. Wenrenha's heart was pierced by 10,000 swords, but his mouth did not stop. He slowly raised his hand and drew a formation in the air with great difficulty that was identical to the pattern on his body. It was Heart-Blood-Soul locking formation. After the array was drawn, the blood-red light of the array integrated into the soul of Wenrenha, cutting the body with the blood swords and carving the soul with blood. When the Red Underworld Sword left his body, Wenrenha's body turned into bloody mist with a bang and dissipated into the cave. 7-star Killing Halberd screamed as Pola Star was gradually stained with blood. A quarter of an hour later, a bloody mist gradually condensed into a human silhouette. In the moment when his soul was scattered and the body disappeared, Wenrenha endured the excruciating pain of the broken soul and firmly completed the blood-cutting array. In the realm of cultivation there were many techniques called blood cutting. The cultivator had to draw blood patterns on his body and destroy his body and soul with his own hand and use blood-cutting technique in the moment before his death to completely fuse his body and soul into one. This heart-blood-soul locking technique has been practiced by only one person in millions of years. It was not because it was not strong enough, but it was a technique of 9 deaths and only 1 lifetime. Without absolutely strong faith, it was impossible to endure such pain. After it was completed, no matter how many wounds you suffer, as long as you have enough spiritual energy, you will be able to recover. When Renha put on the black robe that had been thrown to the ground and pain of cutting his own soul with his own hands still remained in his body. He frowned slightly and took the pill from his sleeve, swallowing it. When his body had recovered to 50%. When Renha lifted up Yin Hanjiang and injected his newly acquired genuine qi into Yin Hanjiang meridians, forcing out the evil qi from his body caused by burning sky drums. In the next few months, when Renha and Yin Hanjiang were in a small cave. After absorbing spiritual qi, he transferred it to Yin Hanjiang to repair his damaged meridians little by little. Qiu Zongxue, who was far away, was carried on Beili Qingmiao's back as she climbed the mountain. Qiu Zongxue said to Beili Qingmiao, "Don't worry about me and don't take me back to the sect." She fainted after that. She was hurt more severely than when Renha. The Buddha's light was very damaging to ghost cultivators, all ghosts in her body crossed over so she couldn't use any of her cultivation. Seeing Qiu Zongxue's reluctance to return to the sect, Beili Qingmiao thought that she was too badly injured to be cured and didn't want to face her fellow cultivators, so she made up her mind to save her. Beili Qingmiao reported this situation with the talisman given to her by her master and tied Qiu Zongxue, who was unconscious, to her back as she rushed to Jiuding Mountain. Jiuding Mountain was said to be a temple for immortal cultivators. Even Mahayana realm cultivators would be suppressed to a mortal level here. Beili Qingmiao could not fly, and the cliff was very steep, so she gritted her teeth with tears as she used the vine to climb. Along the way, she fell countless times, her face and body was covered with scars. She thought of giving up, but when she thought of the fellow cultivator on her back waiting for her to save them and thinking of the countless people she was unable to save during the war, Beili Qingmiao gritted her teeth as she summoned her courage to continue climbing. When she finally reached the top of the mountain, she was almost dying. Jiu Yang was good at hiding, so ordinary people were unable to find it. Beili Qingmiao was lying half dead on the top of the mountain, when Jiu Yang, thinking that he was already dead, became attracted to her divinity coming out of the soil trying to absorb Beili Qingmiao's cultivation. Another snake, which was always guarding the Jiu Yang, crawled up to her. Seeing its appearance, Jiu Yang and the snake began to fight. Beili Qingmiao was awakened up by the sound of the snake and was overjoyed to find Jiu Yang right in front of her. She killed the snake with all the strength she had left, plucked Jiu Yang and stewed it together with the snake. The aroma of the Jiu Yang healed Beili Qingmiao wounds and helped her advance to the 5th stage of Golden Core realm. If Beili Qingmiao drank the meat mushroom soup, she would have been able to soar to heaven. But she didn't take advantage of the elixir and soaked Qiu Zongxue into the soup. Seeing the flesh regrowing on her body, she said happily, "So you're a girl." When Qiu Zongxue's internal organs were fully grown, Beili Qingmiao fed Qiu Zongxue all the leftover soup after soaking her. Qiu Zongxue's realm was instantly restored to the Mahayana, her face rosy and healthy. When Qiu Zongxue woke up, she saw a very beautiful woman looking at her with her chin propped on her hand, her gaze filled with undisguised joy. "Senior, you are finally cured." Cured. Qiu Zongxue sat up and suddenly felt that something was very wrong. She looked down and found that she had grown flesh. At this time, a sentence appeared in Qiu Zongxue's mind. Seeing the concerned eyes of Beili Qingmiao and the pot of Jiu Yang soup she was fed, she couldn't help sighing, "This time it's over." Although she didn't know where it came from, Qiu Zongxue nodded approvingly and said, "It's over." "What's over?" Beili Qingmiao blinked and naively looked at Qiu Zongxue. "I am the altar master of the demonic sect and a ghost cultivator." In order to cultivate the merciless path, I devoted myself to the hungry ghost path and gave up my body in order to feed the ghosts. Only after such sacrifices had I reached the Mahayana realm. Qiu Zongxue looked at Bailey Qingmiao with a fierce glare. It was only then that Bailey Qingmiao noticed that something was wrong. She took a few steps backwards and fell to the ground. She said in a trembling voice. Senior, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? Before Qiu Zongxue could deceive her, her warm finger pinched Bailey Qingmiao's neck and said in a voice full of hatred, I am a ghost cultivator, it was not easy for me to give up my body. But you with a mouthful of soup made it all regrow. I will strangle you. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari. Chapter 16.1 Fishing for the Moon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiuding Mountain had a seal, so Qiu Zongxue's cultivation was suppressed, making her strength almost the same as that of Bailey Qingmiao. Bailey Qingmiao dodged Qiu Zongxue's arm and rolled under her to avoid the attack. After Bailey Qingmiao had escaped, she was about to say something when she suddenly blushed and ran into the distance. After a while, she ran back with a black robe in her arms and threw it at Qiu Zongxue, turned her face sideways as she spoke to Qiu Zongxue, Senior, you. Put this on. Ha. Qiu Zongxue looked down on her body. That was a fleshy and gorgeous body. What was wrong with it? The altar master Qiu was used to walking around with a skeleton and head, so she had long forgotten what it felt like to have a physical body. She was still angry when Bailey Qingmiao avoided her attack. But now Qiu Zongxue calmed down, knowing that her cultivation was suppressed and she couldn't use her genuine qi. She didn't continue to try to take revenge, but looked coldly at Bailey Qingmiao's various actions of blushing, running away, and giving her clothes. Qiu Zongxue slowly put on her black robe and squinted at Bailey Qingmiao, suddenly asking. Your name is Bailey Qingmiao? Yes. Bailey Qingmiao checked if Qiu Zongxue was fully dressed before she dared to turn around and look at her. Senior, when you were unconscious, did you hear me talking to you? It was not like she heard her talk, but instead it was like someone was reading a story to her ear, telling her that the woman in front of her was Bailey Qingmiao. Speaking of it, the name Bailey Qingmiao also sounded familiar. Qiu Zongxue was not like Su Yanyan, who always had devious ideas and was sneaking around behind people's backs. However, the altar master Qiu could do it without even moving her hands, as it was the hungry ghost who moved her hands. They were all waiting for an opportunity to assassinate Wenrenhe. Xu Yanyan was the right protector who helped the Venerable to take care of the affairs of Xianyuan's sect, managing the small sects that were dependent on Xianyuan's sect in a satisfactory manner. Not forgetting to pick out a few good-looking ones to raise, in this manner she gained trust of Wenrenhe step by step. Waiting for a moment of good luck to suck up the genuine qi of this Mahayana cultivator. However, Wenrenhe's eyes were blind to beauty and he treated beauties as dirt. As long as Xu Yanyan showed even a hint of any intention of seduction, she would be taken care of. So she settled down over decades. On the other hand, Qiu Zongxue refused to accept Wenrenhe and never concealed her intention to fight. Wenrenhe agreed to her challenge every 10 years and up till now she was defeated 5 times. Xu Yanyan said that Qiu Zongxue's brain was sucked dry by the fierce ghosts of the hungry ghost path. Qiu Zongxue's idea was similar. After all, she had a 1,000-year-old fierce ghost in her mind, which would assist her in the attack, but she could not use him easily. Bailey Qingmiao. Qiu Zongxue pondered for a long time, and finally remembered that 11 years ago, Xu Yanyan mentioned that there was a potential disciple, for Wenrenhe, who wanted to dig her up from Shangqing sect to let her cultivate the merciless path. You are a disciple of the Shangqing sect, Golden Core Realm? Qiu Zongxue asked. Yes, have you met this junior before, senior? Bailey Qingmiao said the 18-year-old Golden Core Realm cultivator was unprecedented, but now Bailey Qingmiao was 29 years old, so it was meaningless if she was still in the Golden Core Realm. Hold out your hand. Qiu Zongxue was used to commanding hungry ghosts in her daily life, so she had become accustomed to a commanding tone. Fortunately, Bailey Qingmiao was a clever and respectful junior who respected her as a senior in the Mahayana realm, so she didn't doubt her as she obediently offered her hand. Qiu Zongxue checked Bailey Qingmiao's pulse as her pupils trembled slightly. She asked. Golden Core completion. First stage of Golden Core realm and Golden Core completion were two different concepts, and the Golden Core completion meant that Bailey Qingmiao had already stepped halfway into the threshold of the nascent soul realm. Only heart cultivation technique and tribulation were needed. If one could reach the nascent soul realm when you are younger than 30 means they are really gifted, and even someone as cold-blooded as Qiu Zongxue couldn't help but cherish such a talent. It's no wonder that Devil Venerable Wenrenha wanted to take her as his disciple. If Bailey Qingmiao cultivated for another 100 years, she might not be unable to defeat Wenrenha. If I can't defeat Wenrenha, shall I rob him of his disciple? Qiu Zongxue looked up and down at Bailey Qingmiao. Bailey Qingmiao was afraid that the senior might be possessed by demons. What would happen if she became crazy after waking up? She carefully tugged on Qiu Zongxue's robe and said, Senior, I have been away from my sect for a long time. Senior has already recovered, so why don't we just say goodbye? To Bailey Qingmiao, it was enough to save the life of the person in front of her. Wait. Qiu Zongxue held Bailey Qingmiao by her collar and said, Let's go down the mountain together. Although Qiu Zongxue was 1,000 years old, her appearance was still that of a young girl. With snow-white-like skin and black hair scattered by her shoulders, her eyebrows were like February new leaves with a slight curve. Her pair of phoenix eyes were both gentle and merciless, making her a natural cold beauty. In an informal way they went down the mountain. She lifted her robe many times and her bare thigh was in plain view. When you only have white bones left like Qiu Zongxue, you don't shy away from other people. Bailey Qingmiao tried to cover her face several times, but she was afraid that she would make Qiu Zongxue feel uncomfortable, so she put up with it. After climbing down the mountain, she immediately said to Qiu Zongxue, Senior, this junior has a robe. The quality is a little lower, but it can cover your body. Bailey Qingmiao took out a light green dress, which was given to her by Wenrenha. At first, she insisted on not accepting it, but Wenrenha forced it on her. Qiu Zongxue put on the clothes. She was tall and had a slim waist just like a willow. This skirt really suited her. Bailey Qingmiao looked at her and took out an ordinary jasper hairpin bought in a small town at the foot of the mountain, helping Qiu Zongxue tie her hair and put on the hairpin. Senior is so beautiful. Bailey Qingmiao lightly exclaimed. What's the use of that? After descending from the mountain with her power unrestricted, Qiu Zongxue checked her condition and was so angry that she almost fainted from the anger. Her cultivation realm was indeed the same as before and her qi was quite profound. However, the ghost qi she worked so hard to cultivate was gone. Instead, her body was full of immortal qi, turning her almost in a scattered immortal. Qiu Zongxue tried to call on the nearby wandering souls again, but none of them came. She squeezed her fist tightly. With this kind of body, how could she go back to Shenyuan's sect and fight with Wenrenha for the position of the sect master? How could she teach Xu Yanyan a lesson? Fortunately, Altar Master Qiu was a determined person. She was able to devote herself to the hungry ghost path and endure severe pain to embark on the merciless path. Today she was able to become scattered immortal. After calming down Qiu Zongxue, Bailey Qingmiao felt relieved and said goodbye to her, wanting to return to her sect. However, Qiu Zongxue grabbed her by her hair. Oh, dear. Bailey Qingmiao covered her hair and said softly. What else can I do for you, elder? I remember that your righteous path. Cough, the Shangqing sect has a rule that accepts scattered immortals as guest elders. As long as the guest elder is willing to stay in the Shangqing sect and make contributions to the sect. According to the contribution point, they can practice heart techniques left by other guest immortals in the hidden book pavilion. Qiu Zongxue asked. The scattered immortals had a very special existence in the realm of cultivation. If their cultivation was on Mahayana realm or higher, they could fight immortal of the upper realm, so every sect welcomed scattered immortals who had no sect. Of course, the sect's core cultivation technique could not be handed over to outsiders, but scattered immortals were allowed to practice some secret technique passed by ancestors. At the same time, the visiting immortals needed to leave their own technique in exchange. Over time, the Shangqing sect gathered a lot of scattered immortal methods, which was exactly what Xiao Zongxue needed. Edited by Ninja, proofread by Mari.